From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, June 13th. I'm Abby Larico. Precision agriculture is supposed to help growers be more efficient with what and how they farm.
The real value and the real need here is to give insights, give knowledge, prescribe what to do when.
But the promise of precision agriculture to revolutionize farming is still years away. A look at what's holding things up, coming up on The Gateway. After multiple subpoenas and months of working to contact her, the Missouri Auditor's Office confirms they've met with former St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner. Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick is looking into Gardner's time as the city's top prosecutor. The Republican told reporters last month that Gardner's whereabouts were unknown. His office twice attempted to subpoena Gardner to force her to cooperate with the audit. The embattled prosecutor resigned her role last year as Fitzpatrick was working to get that first order enforced. Fitzpatrick has said he wants to give Gardner a chance to respond to possible mismanagement and questionable spending, but that he will release a review report by the end of this year with or without her participation. Local organizations are taking a new approach to ending homelessness in St. Louis by keeping better track of who's in need. St. Louis Public Radio's Lauren Brennicke reports the city is the fourth in the country to adopt a new data automation plan.
St. Louis has two official estimates for the number of homeless people in 2024. One statistic says there are 154 people. The other counts more than 2,000. The first, smaller estimate comes from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Their number is less than 12% of the total from D.C.-based Built for Zero's coordinated data system. Beth Sandor is Built for Zero's chief program officer. She says their number is more accurate.
Annual point-in-time data doesn't get you a look into really what's happening every day in the system. It just is a snapshot, and we need a moving picture.
Local organizations will use the categorized data to provide resources to those who need them most. I'm Lauren Brennicke, St. Louis Public Radio.
Hospital employment is rebounding from record-high vacancy and turnover, but rates still remain higher than pre-coronavirus pandemic levels. That's according to a report the Missouri Hospital Association released this month. That report states close to 16% of positions for registered nurses, who make up the largest group of hospital workers, remain vacant. That's higher than the national average of 10%. Jill Ehrlich is an RN who had worked at a hospital in St. Louis County. She says during the pandemic, hospitals expected employees to do more work with fewer people. She now works at an infusion clinic.
After 30 years, I had had enough. We were running short staff, and there was no end in sight, and it was just getting a little unsafe.
Statewide RN vacancies peaked in 2021 when close to 20% of positions were open. The American Cancer Society is enrolling thousands of Black women who don't have cancer into a new study to help prevent, find, and treat it. Women would fill out a digital lifestyle survey twice a year to help better understand cancer disparities. St. Louis Public Radio's Andrea Henderson reports.
Florissant resident Tricia Newson Anderson lost her mother to breast cancer a few years ago. Her mother didn't tell her about the diagnosis until it was at stage 4.
Cancer, I hate it. It took the person that gave me life, and I don't think it's fair at all for people to have to die of something.
Newson Anderson is advocating for more Black women to join Voices, the study that could help the Cancer Society better understand how the disease develops in Black women. The Mercy healthcare worker knows there is hesitancy in the Black community around health studies. She says this could help the community get closer to finding a cure for cancer. I'm Andrea Henderson, St. Louis Public Radio.
Precision agriculture has promised to revolutionize farming since the mid-1990s. The idea is to give growers more granular data about their operations and new technology to put that information to use. Some of this has come to pass. Farmers have more sophisticated equipment and hard data on how their operations perform. But St. Louis Public Radio's Eric Schmid reports some of the loftiest promises of precision ag are still out of reach.
Inside the basement of an old brick building in South St. Louis, a small team of scientists make the final adjustments to a new sensor. It employs a powerful laser to determine the elements and even some molecules that are in front of it.
All right, target's in place. Firing in 3, 2, 1.
This may sound a little like a rocket launch, but it's actually a prototype machine that can measure soil composition in real time. Pablo Sobron is the founder of Impossible Sensing.
And every clack, 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 every light bullet that you heard gives you a data point.
Data points on nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, even water conditions, and indicators of soil health. The sensor can be mounted on the back of a planter to let farmers see exactly what's happening in their soil as they drive through a field. Sobron says that could help farmers apply the exact amount of fertilizer each plant needs.
The real value and the real need here is to give insights, give knowledge, prescribe what to do when.
Sobron says this is the promise of precision ag, that knowing what's happening with individual plants will boost productivity and reduce the overuse of fertilizer, which pollutes rivers, lakes, and groundwater. But he says the hype hasn't delivered, at least not yet. And Sobron isn't the only person working on it. Allison Doyle is an associate director at the Iowa State University Research Park. She says big ag companies are also looking beyond just seeds, fertilizer, and traditional farm equipment.
There's a trend right now in agriculture where a lot of the ag companies are positioning themselves more in the tech space than they are traditional ag.
She says labor is a big driver of this. There aren't as many people farming now than there were in the past. And Doyle says today's farms are much bigger than they used to be.
When you have an operation that large where commodity prices and all the input prices are where they are, you're looking for a tiny little bit of margin wherever you can find it, and so those precision tools become necessary.
But however promising new tools like that laser are, it'll likely take years for them to be adopted on thousands, let alone millions of farming acres.
Experimentation is a risk.
Bill Lee farms about 2,200 acres of corn and soybeans with his brother in central Illinois. Since he started farming in 1982, he says he's slowly added more precision tools to make his operation more efficient, whether applying fertilizer or planting seeds.
It's not a jump in with both feet, it's a process, because it's just too expensive and there's too much at risk to take that flying leap and realize there's not a high jump pit at the end, it's a piece of concrete.
Lee says he's more than willing to spend money on new technology, as long as he sees an economic return. It's a financial equation many farmers are familiar with. Chad Zimmerman, agri-food director at the nonprofit BioSTL in St. Louis, says it's unfair to expect farmers to be the only ones to bear the financial uncertainty that can come with changing their practices.
We can't be asking them to take on more risk, to just take a decrease in their profit to accomplish somebody else's goal.
Zimmerman says new agricultural technology can help growers, but it won't fully deliver the cost and environmental benefits until scaled across millions of acres. Impossible Sensing's Sobron says that means big and small companies have to be the ones to prove their precision ag tech really works.
It's on us, right, to really create that value and show it.
He says once farmers see that value demonstrated, they'll adopt those new practices en masse, which is what he expects will happen with his new sensor in a few years. I'm Eric Schmid, St. Louis Public Radio.
Harvest Public Media is a collaboration of public media newsrooms in the Midwest and Great Plains, including St. Louis Public Radio. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri-St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.